Hey guys, Cody the Dragon Master here, and welcome to episode 2 of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading Card Game How-To video series. In this episode, I'm gonna get to preparations for games. So to begin a duel, you'd need a deck containing a minimum of 40 cards. And the set of cards you use in a duel is your main deck. And the main deck contains 40 cards, at least. Of course, despite this minimum limit, your deck can contain as many cards as you wish, for as long as there's at least 40 cards. Also, you can have 15 additional cards in your separate pile, which is the side deck. And so, in between duels, whether you lost or not, you can exchange any cards in your main deck for any cards in your side deck, and/or vice versa. And after you exchange the cards from both decks, you must make sure that both your main deck and side deck have the original amount, have the same original amount of cards that they each had before you did the swap. Meaning your main deck must be how many cards you put in there, and your side deck should be 15. And so, let's say if you wanted to have more than one copies of one card, like, for example, a Junk Warrior, or actually a monster like Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon. If you want multiple copies in your deck, just keep in mind that you're allowed a maximum total of 3 copies in your main deck and side deck combined, and no more than that. Plus, if you combine the main deck with the side deck, you can only have a single copy for each limited card, and 2 copies for each semi-limited card. If you want the most recent information regarding the limited card list, tournaments, ban lists, etc., you could visit the official website www.yugioh-card.com, which I'll provide a link in the description so you can check that out. It's also a good place to learn more about the rules of the game. So now I shall explain the game mat. This thing is used to play the game. Each space shows where you can place the cards to fight with them. And each game mat piece represents one side of the field. And so the game mat that's closest to you is your side of the field. And same thing for your opponent. And do you have to use game mats to play the Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading card game? No. But for tournament use, yes. Yeah, let's get to the nitty-gritty. So, this is the deck zone right here. Pretty self-explanatory. Your deck is placed face down right here. So at the beginning of each of your respective turns, you draw one card from the top of your deck. Next, see these little lighter brown spaces that say Monster Zone? That is your monster card zone. That is the zone where you can place a monster card and do battle with it. Then, keep in mind that you're allowed a maximum total of 5 monsters in your monster card zone simultaneously. Same thing for the spell and trap card zone. which is also known as the back row. This is where you can play spell or trap cards. Just like the monster card zone, you're allowed a maximum total of 5 cards in the spell and trap card zone at the same time. See that green space that says field zone? That is a zone where you can play field spell cards. And only there. Field spell cards. When field spell cards are placed there, they can determine what battlefield you're fighting on. And so, some examples of field spells are Yami and Sogen. Here, this dark gray space is the extra deck zone. And so if you use any monster cards that make up an extra deck, like for example, Xyz, Synchros, or Fusion monsters, place it face down here. It consists of a 15 card deck of monsters that goes into this deck. Just like the extra deck. No, the side deck. Keep in mind that the extra deck is kept separate from the main deck permanently. So, like I just said, any cards that make up the extra deck aren't counted towards the 40 card limit of the main deck. And you're allowed a maximum total of 15 cards in the extra deck zone at the same time. If you're using any cards that make up an extra deck, that is. That gray space, the graveyard, is pretty self-explanatory. And so, this is the zone where you can place killed monsters as well as used spells and traps. And now for the red and blue pendulum zones, which are the newest zones added to the game mat this year. Those two zones are the zones where you can place pendulum monster cards so you can perform a special pendulum summon. And when placing pendulum monsters in the pendulum zones, they count as spell cards. And so, like the field spell card zone, the pendulum zone is not included in the 5 card limit of the spell and trap card zone. And so, only one active pendulum monster can exist in both zones on your side of the field. And if the pendulum monsters are destroyed as spell cards in the pendulum zone or as monsters in the monster card zone, they sit face up on the top of your extra deck instead of going to the graveyard. And so that does it for this episode of how to play the Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading card game. Don't forget to rate, comment, favorite, and subscribe, as well as check out the Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading card game website and follow me on Google+. Until then, see you in episode 3, where I give some card details.